Tuatahira tēnā koe kei taku whanaunga. Ngā mihinui ki a koe, nau I whai wā mai te kōrero ki au, ara ki ngā kai whakarongo e noho mai rā I o rātau kāinga maha putanua I te motu o tira putanua I te rohe o Tauranga Moana. Tēnā rau atu koe.
Tēnā koe. Tēnā hoki koutou ngā whānau ngā hapu ngā iwi o Ngāti Ranginui. O Tauranga Moana hoki, ai morena tātou katoa.
Tēnā whakamohio mai ki a mātou ngā kai whakarongo ko ai koe, he aha o tūranga ki a Ngāti Ranginui.
Auwe, ko Ngāronoa Gardiner tēnei, he uri no ngā iwi katoa o te moana, ngai te rangi Ngāti Ranginui, Ngāti Pūkenga, ngā pōtiki ki ahau, he iwi hoki. No te whānau kārehana, te taha o tōku pāpā, te taha o tōku māma, no te whānau Harawira Ririnui. Ai, kia ora. Ko au te tumuaki hau o te tiamana hau o te runanga o Ngāti Ranginui. Ai, koena.
Tēnā koe te tiamana. Donna, I just want to say thank you for making time to speak to us all. I know it's obviously been a really trying time for our whānau, for our hapu, and obviously for our iwi. And I know that you did want to have a short kōrero before we start about some of the things that have been happening, particularly for our whānau in Maunga Tapu there, and in regards to our tikanga.
Tuatahi, e te rangatira I Jeff, moi mai rā. Hoi rā tō waka ki Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmamau, haere atu rā, e te rangatira, haere atu rā. So, one of the important considerations that we should be making now as whānau is in the event of a tangihanga or an extraordinary event or an accident. One of the things that I think some of us have been having conversations around and finding it very difficult to have those conversations around, in the event of a whānau member passing away, what are the things that would make it easier for us to deal with, especially in terms of the tangihanga guidelines that have been issued by the Department, Government, Ministry of PHB, that have not necessarily taken enough cognizance of our tikanga. So I think my suggestion is that whānau have those conversations amongst each other, hard as they may be. Nominate somebody from your whānau to take responsibility in the event of a mata. Also identify at the marae or the hapu level somebody who can actually coordinate on behalf of our whānau. But I think ultimately what I would recommend is that Ranginui have nominated a whakarite for Ngāti Ranginui. Her name is Grace Nuku. Grace is probably the first port of call for anyone who is having to deal with tangihanga during this really trying time. So those contact details for Grace will be available if we contact the Runanga. Yeah, so I'm only just suggesting this because it's a hard thing for us to do, to discuss as whānau. I mean, we've had to think about it ourselves, particularly with my mum. I mean, she's feisty as, she's still very, very healthy, and in stage, this is about our 3rd, 4th week, she's starting to get hoha with staying at home. But anyway, that's just my, just my advice to us all, to have those discussions and work out the go-to person in the event of a mate in our whānau. Kia ora.
Like you said, it is really trying times at the moment, and I don't think if we said to ourselves even 2 months ago that we'd be in this position, kua rereke te ao, kua rereke o tātou tikanga. But that doesn't mean to say that it might not go back to what we have known it to be. In terms of your miru, your bubble, how is your whānau coping?
Well, interestingly, we've got, I'm in the whānau home Mihi's whānau home at Haukuri Street by myself. I came here because I had to go into isolation myself after being on a flight from Auckland to Tauranga, and behind me were 4 women who just got off an international flight. So I had to go self-isolate. Behind me, our Kaumatua flat. So there's a whole lot of us out there that are, I think, doing really, really well in terms of sticking to the suggested guidelines, for our whānau. Kia rāhui, kia haumaru, kia noho ki te kāinga. I think Māori populations, our people, are doing amazingly well, because they understand the need to protect our whānau and protect our whakapapa. I miss my mokupunas. Mum, we're probably all in situations where we're missing our mokupuna, our kuia, our kaumātua, our whānaus who may or may not be close by. So, I think a good idea is to continue to use the technologies that we've all been using, like Zoom, like Skype, like telephone. And one of the things that I've noticed with Mum is she loves watching videos of her mokupunas doing the TikTok thing. She loves watching old videos that Patrick Nicholas is posting about, ones he's taken from years gone by. She loves, she can't get over the fact that she can talk to her son Peter, who lives in Australia, on the Zoom. So, we should use the technology so that everyone can stay connected. And the other thing that we do as a whānau is we have karakia every night ourselves. So these things are reasonably easy, as long as you're not as technically challenged as I am. But they're good ways to get connected.
Hey Donna, just on a more serious note, I know that you've been having some high-level discussions with other iwi leaders around the country around the data that's coming out about numbers of Māori being tested. What's your, how ofakaro i pāna ki tērā? What's your thoughts around that?
So one of the obvious things that's coming through in terms of the National Iwi Network communications is that very few Māori are being tested, which is why while we might have high percentages, comparatively for our population when they are announced, the fact is we've got low numbers presenting because low numbers are being tested. So I would be really keen to see, and other iwi are also suggesting this too, that as many of our people be tested as possible, particularly those who are working on the front line. A lot of our people are working front line, so whether in services or in essential services, they're on the front line. So I would encourage our whānau to go and get tested. And if there are difficulties with being tested, please let our organisation know, our Runanga know, because they're trying to get those facilities out there as well, so our people can go and get tested.
One of the some of the data that's coming out is showing, and it's not Māori specific, which again is an interesting thing, but Yeah, it's problematic. Some of the data shows that there is some non-compliance among 20 to 29-year-olds around staying home. Do you have a message for them, for our rangatahi out there who might not, kua noho nuana ki ēnei mahi?
Well, I guess, there's only so many ways you can say it, but at the end of the day, they could be responsible for passing on COVID-19 to their family members, to their kaumātua, to their, to their cousins, to the babies in their whānau. If they're in a bubble, if you're moving out of your bubble and you're impacting other young people's bubbles, those bubbles have the potential to, to impact seriously on our people's propensity to catching COVID-19. So, we do have to take this seriously. I haven't, I know that those are some of the statistics that are coming through, but I haven't actually seen that kind of behaviour in my area, which is Haere Mangatapu. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing that our young ones are being reasonably careful. But yeah, young people, they think they're invincible. I mean, I used to think that when I was that age, but kia te pato, ne, kia patara, kia matara.
Kia matara. And you touched lightly on the fact that many of our people are essential workers, and some of that essential mahi is delivering kai packages and, some of these hauora packages to our kaumātua and some of our whānau. And with that comes the mahi around making sure they're protected with PPE gear. What's your kōrero around that? What's your whakaaro around that?
Well, what I do know is that those people that are preparing kai, they have made the necessary inquiries with, they tried with MOH and then tried with the City Council, trying to find what the protocols were for that they needed to follow in order to prepare. They've got to go and get the food, they've got to do the shopping, come back, prepare it, cook it, deliver it. So they needed to get clarity around the protocols that they had to follow. So they're gloved up, they're masked up, contactless, they drop it all off, they don't go anywhere near the people that they're delivering to, they'll just deposit it outside. And so they've made the effort to actually check that they're following the right protocols, which is really important because they're coming out of their bubble, going into a cooking bubble, then take from that bubble, going to deliver. Do you know what I mean? So they're being very, very careful, thankfully. They're being very careful. So what they've found too is that initially they were delivering to kaumātua and hauora, people on the hauora list, but in their deliveries, they're noticing they've picked up, very vulnerable whānau, single parent whānaus who don't have a car. They can't go and do the shopping without taking their children. So they've actually picked up on some of those necessary duties as well, and trying to actually work out how to help them with those sorts of things too. Going to the doctor, going to get medication, don't have a car, all of those things, So it's broader than delivering care packages and food packages. And I think the important thing is that they're connecting them back to, to the Runanga and to those places and agencies that can actually assist them if they can't. Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the key messages is that our people have those connections to our people. So whilst many of our whānau might feel whakamā to try and access services, they can get some information from the Runanga if they need that.
That's right.
Yeah. You touched on it lightly before, and it's this kōrero around keeping in touch, and particularly with our kaumātua. So I understand that Runanga is going to start sending out a pānui for our kaumātua, a printed one. For some of our kaumātua that might not, have digital connectivity. Some of them prefer to just read a pānui. How important was it for you guys to make sure that our people that don't have digital connectivity are being informed?
Yeah, so we're, the normal, we have quarterly meetings for our kaumātua, and they always get a letter in the mail. So, and that's taking, recognising that they don't have the emails that we do. There's always an assumption that their mokos or their daughters or their whānau will actually utilise the email and pass that on. But they actually appreciate being treated respectfully by receiving a letter in the mail. I know that they do. So I think it's quite important that, a newsletter does go out, particularly targeting our kaumātua, because it's their wisdoms that are actually going to help us get through this, So on the one hand, we're feeding them information, but we also need to think about how we get their wisdoms into supporting our responses to COVID-19, because they have the wisdom. They have the wisdom. We just got to learn how to hear that wisdom.
How to listen.
When they're speaking. Yeah.
Hei whakamitunga, ko whakarohia tēnei mea te taha hine ngaro. When we're talking about mental health, a 4-week lockdown, that is a huge task to take on for all of us as a whānau, as a hapu, and as a iwi. How kōrero aki, what's your advice to some of our whānau that might be finding this time quite troubling in terms of their taha hine ngaro? What's your kōrero around that, your whakaaro?
Well, when I think about, I think at the end of week 2, my mum was wanting to go for rides, and she walks every day, but, she wanted to get in the car and go for a ride. She wanted to come with me to do the shopping. So I was able to actually, bring her in the car, but she was like, she had to stay in the car, So in terms of looking after our hine ngaro, there are probably a number of ways that we can deal with that. I mean, I know that very few of our people will actually seek counselling, but they need to know that counselling is actually available for them too. There may be some whānau who are isolated and who may not be from this area. So I know that Runanga is actually reaching out to those whānau as well. So they can't actually communicate with their own whānau, possibly. I found that I was much more active in the first 2 weeks in terms of, kuritana, hikoi haere, and then 3rd week I got really lazy. And so, what you would normally do I was starting to kind of get quite reclusive. That's me personally. I've come out of that, but there are lots of things that we should probably be thinking about. I find it really useful to listen to, to old tapes or story videos that have been recorded and been provided to us. Some of us I used to like doing yoga. Some people do mindfulness. So for a lot of our young people, they understand mindfulness, meditation. It sounds a little bit, off the wall, but sometimes those are the sorts of things that we can, there are lots of different apps as well with those ones who have the technology. But yeah, I think what's really, really important is that we stay connected. If we can't stay connected to our whānau, stay connected to our friends, stay connected to your next door neighbour in some way or other.
Yeah.
And then so that you can actually talk about, how you're feeling. I find that, like when I do walk, I'm very vigilant about, space.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into the supermarket and there are people who are not so vigilant about space, and that's really quite mentally draining. Oh gee, trying to kind of deal with it in a very practical way. My sister Avi talked to me about when she's been walking down Maungatapu, she's seen 2 young Māori guys walking with a 2-metre plank between them so that they can actually keep that 2 metres in place, because often what we're finding is that other whānau are not necessarily as vigilant around maintaining those spaces out there. So yeah, I can see how it could be very, very mentally challenging, very mentally challenging. But yeah.
Donna, what's your whakaaro around our tamariki and our parents? We know that school started back this week, and our parents are now finding themselves as teachers. And I watched an interesting interview last night with Nigel Latta, who said that parents shouldn't be too harsh on themselves, that the next couple of weeks of learning won't necessarily have a huge impact on our tamariki's career prospects, and to not be too hard on themselves. What's your whakaaro around that?
I absolutely agree with that. So what I've heard from both my daughters around those sorts of things is that they've really loved having this time as whānau together. Their busy lives have had to slow down completely. So they're getting a new and reinvigorated, I think, appreciation of what it is to be parents of children, of our mokopunas. And for them, they've actually loved that time together with their children. And I think, whānau have always been the first teachers of our children and our mokopunas. Whānau have always been those teachers. This formal education is just another aspect of teaching and learning, But we've always been the teachers of our children and our mokopuna. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be that troublesome for our whānau, And I agree with Nigel. Just don't be so hard on yourselves, Just don't be so hard on ourselves, Our children are probably loving the fact that they've got their parents and their, some of them are lucky enough to have their grandparents in there with them, But we've always been, the whānau have always been the first teachers of our children and our whānau. Always have been.
Tika. He wai anō kua tai ki te wā ki te whakakapi e nei kōrero. Do you have some last words of advice or kōrero, uplifting kōrero for our whānau out there?
I just want to acknowledge all that our whānau have been doing in response to COVID-19, in response to what the government is advocating. I think government's been doing a very good job, and equally our whānau have been amazing. I think they've been absolutely amazing. We're used to crisis, and so we're usually the last port of call when it comes to any kind of crisis, but actually we're the ones who actually know how to deal with crisis more often than not. So we just get in there, we know what to do, and I just want to congratulate our whānau, our people, our whānau, our hapu, our marae, our iwi, for the way that they've actually responded to this, because this has certainly been an extraordinary event, But I think the other thing that we need to start thinking about is rebuilding our community, our society, our nation. What do we want now? What do we want? We can actually create a better society for ourselves post this. Let's start thinking about what that might look like. We can do this.
Thank you for your insightful kōrero. I'm sure we'll catch up again with you in the next couple of weeks. Heoi anō kei te rangatira, kei taku whananga, ngā mihi nui ki a koe I tēnei rā ātāhua.
Oh, kia ora, tēnā koutou.